This is a really handy and useful calculation trick for expanding your times table up to 20 times 20. It's for multiplying numbers in the teens together, and I'm going to both teach it and prove it here. So let's look at 13 times 14. The way this trick works, you simply take the ones place of either of those numbers. So there's the 4 right there. And we would add it to the other number. So that's 4 plus 13, which is 17. Or we could take the 3 from 13 and add it to the 14, which would also give us 17. Now, to that 17, we add a 0, making it 170, and keep that in our mind. Now, take the product of the ones places. That's 3 times 4, or 12. Add that to the 170, gives us a total of 182. And feel free to go ahead and check that, but that is the correct answer. Let's do one more. So for 17 times 12, we would take the 7 and add it to 12 for 19, or take the 2 and add it to 17, which would also give us 19. Add a 0 to that, which would make 190. Then take the ones places and multiply them together. That's 7 times 2, or 14. Add that now to the 190, which you've kept in your mind. Will give you a total of 204. Now, it can be a little puzzling to ask yourself, why does this work? We're doing things like adding, and yet we're getting a product. We're getting a multiplication answer. And it's interesting to see why this is true. And that's the next thing we're going to look at here. Let's make a little mathematical model of what we just did and see if we can understand it better. We can write 10 plus a to mean any number in the teens, where the a can be 1 through 9. And let's multiply that by 10 plus b. And this is kind of fun because we're going to use FOIL method to do something interesting. So we're going to FOIL this out. We get 10 times 10, or 100. And then 10 times b, so that's going to give us plus 10b. And then the inner product gives us plus 10a. And finally, plus ab. Well, if we look at this carefully, we're going to see that there is a common factor among 3 of these terms, the very first 3 terms. I know often you pull common factors out of everything, but let's pull that common factor out of these 3 terms and see if it doesn't help us some here. So we're going to have 10 times 10 plus b plus a. And we still have that plus ab sitting there, relaxing over there on the end. Now, this actually is our trick. Let's see why. 10 plus b is just any number in the teens. And then a is just the ones place of the other number. What this says is we can just add those together and then multiply that by 10, which is adding what? A 0, which is what we did when we did those earlier multiplications. And then to that, we just add a times b, which is the product of the ones places of the 2 numbers. So what this tells us, because all our math is correct, is that if we want to multiply 2 numbers in the teens together, doing what you see here on the bottom is just as good and works just as well as doing it any other way. So there you go. This is a very useful teens trick, and this is why it works. Let's finish up by running our first calculation through this formula that we've proven. So remember, the first step was to take one of the numbers, let's say 14, which is the 10 plus b here, add it to the ones place of the other number, and that's 3, which is the same as A here. Then we said what? Multiply that by 10, or add a 0, same thing. So we're going to have 170 from that, 10 times 17. And then to that, we add the product of the ones places, which is 3 times 4, or 12. So we add 12 to the 170, and we get 182, just as we did when we did it entirely in our minds.